He's reported to have sent Trump a letter from his young daughter exalting the golden age of America. But Mark Zuckerberg's cozying up to its president hasn't saved him from its courts. In the latest legal and reputational hammer blow for his company, a judge has ruled Meta has caused a public nuisance in New Mexico, saying,
as noxious pollution produced by the factory can harm the common public right to reasonably clean air, the harmful effects of Meta's platforms on children do not stay contained by its platforms, and create a common, societal burden on, and harm to, the affected children and their families.
Mr. Zuckerberg, did Meta purposely design the platform to harm children?
Fresh off the back of another lost case in California, in March, the first part of this two-phase trial in New Mexico saw a jury find that Meta knowingly harmed children and concealed what it knew about child sexual exploitation on its platforms.
I don't think people would expect that every crime in a city is going to be stopped or prevented. I don't think that the standard for our platforms would be that you should assume that it will ever be perfect.
Late last night, in the trial's second phase, the judge ordered Meta to pay a record fine of $567 million, bringing the total Meta has been ordered to pay in this case to nearly $1 billion, with the money used in part to treat young people harmed by social media. It's small fry for a company worth more than the GDP of Switzerland or, say, Saudi Arabia, but a blueprint for more than 1,000 cases now lodged against Meta across America, with a landmark case in California this year finding it had harmed an individual plaintiff, a 20-year-old represented by Matthew Bergman.
In our case, parents literally camped outside the courthouse the night before in order to bear moral witness when Mark Zuckerberg testified. I think that the voices of parents around the world are starting to rise, and those voices ultimately, we believe, will prevail over the greed and the corporate malevolence of Meta and affiliated companies.
What do you think the impact of this will be? Will it have had an impact, a serious impact on Meta and the way it operates?
We've learned over the course of these cases is that moral persuasion doesn't work, but economic duress does. And we hope that this award, in conjunction with more awards down the road, will finally get them to do what they should have done 2 decades ago and put the safety of our children over the profits of their shareholders.
The New Mexico ruling included orders of policy change, including banning children in the US state from having sexual conversations with AI chatbots. Meta, which owns Instagram, Facebook and WhatsApp, says it will appeal the decision, adding, "We remain confident in our record of protecting teens online and will continue to defend ourselves against claims that misrepresent the facts." The EU is casting a watchful eye on this case and how it develops. Efforts on the continent to impose limits on tech giants have been met with resistance from the White House, but with many of his own problems at home, Big Tech's ally in the Oval Office may well find his attention diverted.
Amelia Jen reporting. Well, joining me now is Baroness Kidron, who campaigns for online safety and privacy rights, especially for children. And Jeff Jarvis is a visiting professor at Stony Brook University School of Journalism in New York and the author of an upcoming book called Hot Type. He advocates embracing the internet rather than trying to restrict it. Welcome to you both on a Friday afternoon or Friday evening. Thanks very much for your time. Baroness Kidron, to you first. Do you think this ruling against Meta and this fairly large fine is big tech's big tobacco moment?
I think it is actually a tobacco moment, and not, only in the sense that for decades tobacco said, oh, it's about personal choice, do what you want, you don't have to smoke, etc. And then came the point in the legal cases where they actually shifted the legal landscape and they started saying, who knew what when? About cancer. What were they hiding? And I think in that sense, we have reached the big tobacco moment. It is the moment in which judges are saying, actually, this is not about First Amendment rights. This is about your product, how you design it, and what your intentions are as you design it.
Jeff Jarvis, I'm looking at you and I'm seeing skepticism etched on your face.
This is a moral panic moment, and I think that policymakers and media folk would do well to study history. and to look at the moral panics that existed over books, over novels that were going to ruin the morals of women and children, over Nickelodeons and radio and television and rock lyrics and so on. We've gone through this again and again and again. And too often it is about not trusting our own young people to build their own lives. And it's about trying to build to a frightening edge case that is pushed by moral entrepreneurs in media and in politics. I recommend that people pay attention to actual research rather than fear and panic. Okay. Right there at University of Cambridge, Amy Orban and Andrew Przybylski, pardon me for that, do wonderful work that has actual data. They found, for example, that the effect on young people's lives of social media is about equivalent to that of eating potatoes and wearing eyeglasses. Okay. Here in the United States, we have a worse threat to every child in this country, which is guns. We don't do jack about that, but we have panic around the internet.
And we can't talk about guns tonight, another night, but I want to get back to you, Baroness Kidron, because you were shaking your head, so you've got a response to what the professor just had to say.
My head almost fell off during that. And indeed, let me just say, I absolutely agree about guns.
We're not talking about guns. Let's stick to tech.
No, but I think, first of all, I actually just want to challenge a little bit. I mean, I know Amy and Andy at Cambridge, they're very controversial in some of what they say. And actually, if you look at the very careful things that they say, in the footnotes, what they're actually saying is, oh, well, maybe we don't have as much evidence as we would like to prove this point. But I think there are two things that we're missing here. First of all, there is the fact that 50% of all of the behavioral psychologists that are sort of being pumped out of elite universities are going straight into big tech to do what? To addict people to the technology, to keep them there. And once they are there, it is the algorithms and not the people who do some part of choosing, and very often for children, the major part of choosing what children see. And I want to just challenge you, Matt. In your introduction, you said, oh dear, Meta was actually invented to make us more friendly. It wasn't. It was invented to rate hot girls on campus. And that is in its DNA. And I will say this, I have been at the Meta board meeting. I have passed options of shareholders, the desire of shareholders to actually publish their safety each year. And it was Mark Zuckerberg who actually blocked that possibility. Okay. So I think the truth is they're not transparent.
I don't really have to ask many questions there. I'm just sort of, adjudicating between the two of you. Your turn, Jeff Jarvis.
So it's this kind of talk, it's this kind of moral panic that leads to irresponsible regulation and legislation. Witness Australia's banning of social media for young people, which shows no faith in our young people. It cuts them off into isolation. It's dangerous for them, according to much research, and it's not working. The Australian government just released numbers that said that I think 81% are still going to social media because they care about it. And now this same bad policy is going to be followed in the UK. And it is an example of old people, I'm one of them, having no faith in our young people and thinking these kids today don't know what they're doing. And it's an insult to our own children and grandchildren and the future generations who need to take over this world from us because we've screwed it up.
But briefly, if I may, we regulate cars and airlines and all sorts of things. Why shouldn't we regulate social media?
They are regulated right now. The laws exist. I think it's a mistake to think that every new technology has to have its special regulation and legislation about it. Right. Okay. We have regulation about social behavior that's worked for years through millennia of human behavior, and this is not that special. Okay. We're not that special.
20 seconds to you, Baroness, and then we've got to leave it. Sorry.
Okay.
Go on.
I absolutely, first of all, they're not properly regulated. If they were products, if they were an air fryer, they would be recalled by now. And secondly, I resent the moral panic accusation. I speak to children. I've been speaking to children for 15 years in workshops. They want technology to be safe, to be kind, to be age appropriate, and they want to embrace it. And all I'm saying is, don't let the toxic thing into children's lives.
All right.
No tech.
Okay. Fascinating discussion. We could go on much longer, but we can't. Baroness Kidron, Jeff Jarvis, thank you very much to both of you.